my name is Madhu Sudhakar, and my company is Isera. I'm the founder CEO of Isera. Isera is designed, we started the company around 2.5 years back. What we are trying to do is provide a self-service to people, particularly in these remote environments like we are facing, right? So that employees and users can get their job done without talking to or getting blocked down by having to interact with any processes or any humans. So if I can provide a self-service so that in middle of the time, anytime, any device, you can get your job in terms of customer request, IT support, help desk, that's the power to you. So that it improves your productivity, it also unblocks you, and you also get a good experience. And if we can do this thing with a fraction of the cost, then I improve the overall cost and use that money to invest somewhere else. So it definitely helped me in many ways on how to build a company and how to apply the different technologies. So particularly at Isera, what we learned, how does the AI work over the years, right? AI has been not a new thing. It's been there since early 80s or late 80s. So applying the neural networks, applying the deep learning, what has evolved is the cloud. So what made it happen is the evolution of the cloud. I would say cloud is a fundamental building block. If cloud didn't happen, I don't think AI companies will exist today in this current shape and form. So cloud really helped us a lot. And what are the learnings in the cloud? We have employed that. Similarly, within search, for one of the things for document search with enterprise search, what companies like Google, Yahoo, and many other companies have done over the years. And we did it our own at my previous company, Casion. So the whole enterprise search really helped us a lot on evolving where Isera is today. The knowledge graphs, I call it this whole evolution of applying knowledge and building multiple graphs to do NLP, natural language processing, natural language understanding. So the today's NLP, to be do it in an unsupervised manner, is something we evolved over the last few years. So all those learning really helped us a lot. Finally, the whole automation, like what I learned at Caspida and through Splunk and ServiceNow is many of these requests requires automation. The automation will be in the form of RPAs, like robotic process automation, right? How do we do that? How do we automate security requests, right? When a cyber security request happens, you and me, Dale, we are talking and somebody could be stealing our information. We can't go open up a request with the security admin and hope somebody will solve the problem. You need to consumerize this. You need to make it real time. And those are the things that I've learned over the period of all these companies and over the interaction with the customers and users. So Isera is a brainchild of a learning across many years. And it's some of it is contributed by me, some of it is by all the employees, right? Ideas never come from one person. We all work as a team. It's a collective learning across teams and my founders and management team. A good system should be a living, breathing thing, right? So my goal of here is, on the day one, it's like a kid. He or she is going to make a mistake, but they'll learn quickly. So we want to create an AI learning system which will learn on the customer's data on day one. So I look at your knowledge base, your articles, learn what Dale has been writing down. Learn from your historical requests. What are the requests your customers and users have made? Learn from customer support tickets. Learn from user interactions. Learn from the conversation people are having, or call center people. So the learning can happen across many sources. And that's what we build. Our goal is, and we measure this, there has to be a clear KPI, right? At the end of the day, if I'm doing right or not, it'll be measured by how many requests am I solving per day, right? If you give me 100 requests, if I do 10, my accuracy is 10%. If I do 70%, it's 70% accuracy. That's one of the metrics. And how accurate they are. Am I really solving it? Is it a true resolution? Or I'm giving you a vague answer where you still need to go talk to a live agent to resolve it, right? So there are many metrics that you want to look at. And how soon can I resolve it? If you're taking to resolve your problem a few hours in the past, and now if I reduce that to a few minutes, that's a great, I gave back that much time to you, right? So you're unblocked. So I look at that the mean time to resolution. How soon I respond to it? What is my FCR, right? What is the call resolution times are, my mean time resolution times are, is the answer correct? Am I performing the action for you? Let's say some of the requests are saying that, hey, go get me a Microsoft license, open up a Salesforce login account, and also make sure that my antivirus software get updated today, right? Can I perform all those complex tasks for you? Like, let the robots do the job for you, right? So let it automate the things that you think, and some could be simple tasks, some could be very complex workflows. So unless you let it, you can't say as a kid grows, you let him to do more. In the beginning, he'll walk, then you'll give him a cycle, then you'll say, go ride a car, right? Like that, here's the same thing. Once you get the comfort level, let the system do the simple to complex tasks. And it does make mistakes sometimes, but let it learn. And that's the beauty, is if you do that and invest time and energy, the rewards are huge and exponential. I think what will happen is companies like Zoom, to everybody, they need to provide a virtual assistant, that plugin where a user can be able to talk to the other person, peer-to-peer communication, right? If something is not working, instead of sending you calling, it should be built into the product itself, right? Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, I keep telling that to many of my friends, like Zoom is a great example, or 8x8, or Ring Central, all those products like Blue Jeans. I think we are going to be a new age in the next year or two with all this remote office, remote working. It's going to be a new baseline. I think the adoption to virtual agent, digital assistants, able to communicate both from information automation, and some people will like some of them, some people will not, but the quality of this will be here to improve, and they'll continue to grow better. Overnight, we went from, I call it like, most companies are designed to have 5 to 10% of employees working from home. Now, 100% everybody is working from. So first of all, if your application and software is running on a data center or on-prem, how are you going to do it? How are you going to patch it? You're not going to ask somebody to leave their home and go to the office at a data center. How are you going to maintain safe distance? So I think cloud and SaaS will happen, right? Even within cloud, I mean, they themselves need to have data centers to maintain it, but public cloud adoption will be much more adoption. And there are some vendors who call themselves SaaS, but they're hosted models. They're running on a data center. I enjoy using Alexa and Google Home devices, right? When we talk to it, my kids and me, we enjoy that. I mean, that's how we consume music at home. But when it comes to enterprise, we don't get the same experiences like Google Home and Alexa. And people are asking for those. Like when you ask a question, I need to understand what is the question you're asking, what is the intent, what's exactly the request Dale has, and perform that. It all goes back to all the right steps you have to do to plant a company from day one, right? You really need to make sure that you have the right scalable product is there. You have to have the right customers, right team members, right technology. So I think it doesn't happen overnight. It's a lot of hard work went in to get to that growth stage, right? But with growth comes the growing pains, right? So you have to make sure that you continue to keep your customers happy, get new customers, right? Both needs to happen. And I think the key for all these things, first is team. You want to have the right people, right technology, right product, right customers. You don't need all within the 350% growth. You only want the early adopters, not everybody. If there will be some customer who is not ready, it's okay. I don't expect every customer to be deploy this solution today. Some will be next quarter, some will be next year. So right, that's the beauty of the technology, is I don't want everybody to be early adopters. The people who face the problem, who understand that you and me are seeing, there all with the early adopters. There'll be some will be the growth adopters. Then somebody will come the late stage companies. So I think life, you'll see all of them in these buckets. So we are fortunate so far, but I mean, obviously, given the current conditions, we want to make sure that the key for me is not only growth, we want to make sure that we can help serve the customers, right? That's more important. Like I want to make sure that government agencies, healthcare providers, pharmaceutical companies which are helping in this early fight on the COVID, I want to make sure, is there a way we can help them? Because all these companies will need this to make sure while they're doing job, you need somebody to help them. And that's where we want to provide our solutions. All the tools and technologies are not designed to retool everything, right? Change is very hard when it comes to it, right? Any product can do anything you want, but the question is, it's designed for A, and now you suddenly have to do scenario B, and that requires you to reprogram it, resupply it, reset it up. So I think all those things will be very difficult and time consuming. Time is something we don't have, right? And also people are not there. You don't have the right resources. So I think this is where I believe in the world of cloud, SaaS, and API ways of doing it. So you can evolve, you can be an agile to fix it, because if you create a flexible platform, you can apply for A and B quickly and in a programmatic manner. Flexibility traditionally used to be a nice to have feature. Everybody will put in a check mark. Now, if you don't have a platform to retune, you can never predict a black swan event like what just happened to us. So you really need to have solutions to be scale and plan for these unforeseen circumstances, and able to, and in that situation, how agile can it be? How well it can evolve? And can it retool to a different supply chain problem? Can it interact with all the employees working from home overnight, 100%? Right? Most call centers are not designed like that. Most IT departments are not designed for that, right? So how do you make sure that systems will work and support? And this is where I think the power of AI and cloud will come in. Cloud gives you the centralization, right? And it gives you the scalability that you are talking about. AI should give you the user interaction and experience and still able to do the job, right? You will get tired as a human being. You cannot be working 24 hours a day doing all these tasks. But a tool can do that. This is where the AI and robots should come in. I think this will change the game as a baseline going forward. A lot of challenges will come in is you have to design the product, particularly for AI, you need the data set, right? So sometimes what happens it's like the training. I'll give you an example. Like when you're building an autonomous car, you need to have the Google Maps for that. If you don't know the map, the car cannot train itself. So early days of when the evolution is happening, making sure you have the right data sets, right customer data to train, to build in what I call intrinsic knowledge. It's like if you don't give the math book to your kid, he's not going to learn math, right? So getting the right data set, right knowledge, getting the right vocabulary, right terminology, that's always the hard part in the AI solution. So a lot of people take it for granted. They think I can sit and train it or I don't know the words. You can't think about all the vocabulary in the dictionary. You don't know what the meaning of router means. Router can mean route a ticket versus a router from a Cisco router to a Juniper. So understanding the terminology, understanding the context, understanding what you're asking in that phrase, because in English language, a meaning and an intent can vary differently depending on how you use the word, right? So understanding the grammar, verb, noun, and that's where the natural language understanding and NLP is very important. So these are all very hard problems to solve. And doing this thing in an unsupervised manner, because we are not going to supervise it. One approach we took, Dale, in our platform is you can sit and supervise. Like think of like you're a tiger dad or a mom, like you're going to train your kids and everything. That's one. But in IT, that requires a lot of ML experts and AI experts sit there with hours and days spending on it. We didn't want to take that approach because that tool can work, but then the total cost of ownership will increase because you need to now hire more people to train on it. We took the unsupervised approach where system should learn on day one without anything, and then it evolves over learning. So this platform may take a little longer to learn, but eventually it will be the most cost effective, more accurate than a supervised learning approach. It does. And not only that, it becomes, it has, I call it digital assistants and virtual assistant, not only to interact, they will be available. I call it a request as a service. So think of like how you're consuming cloud or how you're calling Uber as a service or food delivery as a service, right? This whole thing will become that as a form. So it becomes an API mechanism of request as a service, ticket as a service, right? You will consume them. Once you are in an application and that app, if you have a question, you'll perform a request, system will come back with an answer. Our system will proactively suggest. So all those things will change going forward. There's enough technology in this area now, and it's going to accelerate even more with current situation. I think there's a lot of opportunities, right? You have seen companies like Dave.com, Chime.com, you have seen Robinhood. I think like banking as a service, I call it, right? Banking for millenniums or mobile banking, right? There's so many different areas fintech is evolving, right? How do you manage your credit cards, right? How do you manage your bank accounts? How do you do your trading, right? So all of those things, I think the fintech itself will evolve from investment banks and regular retail banks into a totally consumerization world. It's also going to be used, fintech, in trading platforms. You already have algorithmic trading. Trading is no longer done with humans anymore. Machines will trade with each other. I think what we need from fintech is, and what thing is, where, I mean, given if I give you $1,000 or $10,000, where should I invest mine? So I think now the next step of investment will be in fintech is, so tools will come like a weather prediction tool. I need a fintech weather prediction tool. How should I invest Dale's money to get the best? It may not be correct, but I want that from people, right? I think the next step of fintech will be is more about providing tools and prediction, proactively telling you where to do, what to do. You still are in charge of your money, but you need all these things to give you the suggestions.